Greetings, Algebra 1 students. As promised, here is a video for you reviewing some of the skills that you learned in pre-algebra at the middle school. And I apologize, I meant to get this out to you guys on Friday, but I just had a couple things after school. The band senior night being the big one. That was awesome. If you participated in that, way to go. Band sounded great. Absolutely loved hearing you guys play. Congratulations to the varsity football team for their win on Friday night. And good luck to JV this morning. So let's get started. What we're going to do in this video is I'm going to review how to evaluate an expression and what that means. We are going to talk about simplifying expressions and how we use order of operations to do that. And then at the end, I'll touch on absolute value and how order of operations apply when we're simplifying expressions that have absolute value in them. There will be a second video that I'm going to post that will talk about topics such as what it means to square a number or square root a number and some different things we need to think about with that. So if that's more what you're interested in learning, go ahead and click on the second video that's posted. That'll have the information you need. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what does it mean to evaluate an expression? So I have an example here. Evaluate 5a plus b when a equals -2 and b equals a +4. When we evaluate an expression, all we're doing is we're replacing the variables in the expression with the values we've been given. Remember, variables can change their value from problem to problem. So in this problem, we've been told that A is a -2 and B is a +4. To evaluate the expression, we simply plug those values in for A and B and then do the math to find the final answer. This expression is telling us to take 5 times what A is, which is a -2, and then to add on what B is, which is a +4. And now all I need to do is multiply 5 times a -2 to get a -10 and add 4 to it. And so -6 is my final answer. I just evaluated the expression 5a plus b when a is -2 and b is a +4. Please remember that an expression is different than an equation. Equations have equal signs, and they are really two expressions that are set equal to each other. We solve equations, we simplify or evaluate expressions. The second thing I'd like to talk about is what does it mean to simplify an expression? So I have an example written out that we're going to work through together. Simplifying an expression means we are going to combine things together in a certain way to come to a final answer. We're going to simplify things as much as possible. When we simplify an expression, there's a certain process that we need to follow each time, and that is using the order of operations. We're going to first simplify inside of parentheses. Then we are going to evaluate any exponents that are in the expression. Then we are going to do any multiplication or division together from left to right. And then we will focus on cleaning up any addition or subtraction that needs to happen from left to right as well. So let's take a look at this first example. Order of operations says I need to simplify within my parentheses first. And if you take a look right here, I have a parenthesis that has some math inside that I can do. 5 minus 4. I can figure that out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what that is, and I'm going to rewrite the entire expression with just that small part changed. This is a great way to show your work. Students ask all the time, how do I show my work for this? I'm doing it in my head. Here's how you would show your work. Do it step by step. rewrite the parts of the expression that you haven't touched, and then show me the parts that you did simplify. So to simplify inside of the parentheses, I'm not doing anything with that 2 just yet. 5 minus 4 is 1, plus 5 squared divided by 5 times 2. That takes care of my parentheses. Now I'm going to look in my expression and see if I have any exponents that need to be simplified. And right here I do. 5 squared. Now in the other video, I have a little section where I talk about what it means to square something. So I'll review that real quick right now. To square something means we are multiplying it by itself. So squaring 5 means I'm taking 5 times 5, which is 25. That's how I'm going to simplify that part of the expression. So again, I'm going to rewrite everything I'm not touching exactly how it is, and I'm going to replace the 5 squared with 25. So I'm not doing anything right now with the 2 times the 1. Whoops, hang on, I'm going to switch my color back so it's consistent. Okay, I'm not doing anything with the 2 times the 1. I did evaluate the 5 squared, that's 25, divided by 5 times 2. And so that takes care of the exponent part of order of operations. Now, when you get to the multiplication and division, order of operations is not meant to go through the whole expression and only do the multiplication first and then do all of the division second. That's not how it's written. We're supposed to do multiplication and division together in the order that we see them, no matter which comes first or second, from left to right. So watch what I'm going to do here. To take care of multiplication and division, I'm going to take care of this multiplication here, and then I'm first going to divide 25 by 5, and then eventually I'll multiply by 2. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So going left to right, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 25 divided by 5 is 5. And I haven't taken care of that multiplying by 2 yet. I'm going to do that next. So again, I still have some multiplication and division to do right here. And so I'm going to do that. 2 plus 10, and my final answer now. Now I move on to addition and subtraction. So we did the multiplication and division. Now I'm going to move on to addition and subtraction, and my final answer is 12. So that's really important to remember right here in this line. Sometimes students see the multiplication and they want to take care of multiplying first and then the division second, because that's how it's written in order of operations. But really, we just do them in order from left to right as we see them. And that's how we simplify an expression. The last topic I'd like to talk about in this video is what does it mean to find the absolute value of a number? And we're also going to focus on how do we simplify with absolute value in an expression. So I'll go through a couple of examples pertaining to that in the end. But first, let's talk about what does absolute value mean? In math, absolute value is a measurement tool. And what it does for us is it measures the distance a number is away from 0. Here's an example to demonstrate that. Let's say we are asked to find the absolute value of a -2. What this is really asking us is how far away from 0 is the number -2. So here's -2 on the number line. How far is it away from 0? Well, it's 1, 2 spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of a -2 is 2. Now, when we are simplifying expressions that have absolute value in them, there's a couple things we need to think about. The first example I want to go through with you is how would we find something like this? Absolute value bars work like grouping symbols, kind of like parentheses. When we simplify expressions that have absolute value in them, we need to simplify inside the absolute value first and evaluate that distance away from 0 first before we deal with anything outside of the absolute value bars. The other thing I want you to remember is absolute value bars are stronger in a sense than parentheses. And what I mean by that is nothing can get inside of them until we break down those walls. Think of them like brick walls. We can distribute numbers and negative signs into parentheses. We cannot distribute numbers and negative signs into absolute value bars. We first have to determine the distance that the number inside is away from 0. And then once we do that, we can apply anything that's outside of the absolute value bars. So what does that look like in a case like this? Well, inside the absolute value bars, I have a -7. Outside of the absolute value bars, I have another negative sign. Sometimes we can be tempted to take a look at this problem and think minus a negative becomes plus a positive. But because there's absolute value bars there, I can't simplify that way until I evaluate the absolute value. So the first thing we need to do is we need to determine what the absolute value of a -7 is. And if we think about this in terms of distance away from 0, -7 is 7 units away from 0. Then I take the negative that's on the outside and I apply it. And so my final answer is a -7 for this expression. Here's another example. What if I'm asked to simplify 5 minus the absolute value of 2 minus 4? Again, absolute value is like a grouping symbol. In order of operations, I need to take care of what's inside of those grouping symbols first. So the first thing I'm going to do is evaluate the absolute value, and then I'll worry about taking 5 minus that answer. So once again, that negative sign is not going to distribute inside of the absolute value. We have to take care of the absolute value first and then worry about what's on the outside. So let me switch colors here. When we take a look at the absolute value of 2 minus 4, we have to simplify inside first and then apply the absolute value bars. So I'm going to rewrite the parts of the expression that I'm not working with right now, and I'm going to figure out what 2 minus 4 is, which is a -2. Now I'm going to evaluate the absolute value of a -2. So once again, I'll write down the parts of the expression that I'm not touching, and the absolute value of a -2 is a +2. -2 is 2 units away from 0. Notice again how I didn't say minus a negative becomes plus a positive. With absolute value bars, it's a stronger barrier than parentheses. You have to break down that wall first before you can take care of anything outside. And now I can just simply subtract, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So hopefully this review of evaluating and simplifying expressions and how to work with absolute value was helpful. Again, if you're looking for help with squaring numbers and square rooting numbers, please watch my second video. And don't forget that there's the Mrs. V I Have a Question Google form that you can submit questions on if you're not understanding something from the homework on Monday and Tuesday, or Thursday and Friday for my blue group. I'll see you guys in class.